This is the Veritable Veteran podcast, bringing truth and exposure to the struggles veterans and their families face post-military. Depression, anger, PTSD, suicide. Who am I? What do I do now?
Hey guys, so it's September 10th and Charlie Kirk was shot and killed today. I'm sure you know that. I didn't post anything. I didn't post a second video today because honestly, I'm just pissed off and not in the mood. I don't care what side of the aisle you're on politically. If you celebrate this man's death, you can just leave all of my social media pages and never come back. I wouldn't wish this on anybody. He's got a wife and kids, and he never did anything except say things that people disagreed with.
And did it respectfully. And
this isn't the country that I signed up to fight for, that I signed up to defend. And quite honestly, as a veteran, it pisses me off that this is what our country is becoming, where one political ideology decides that someone is becoming too bad for them, too negative for them, so they just go ahead and shoot them. And anyway, so if I'm a little bit salty tonight, that's why. And honestly, it's taken a lot to even sit here and talk because I don't even want to be here right now. Honestly, I'd rather just go sit and sulk, but that's not going to help. So
when we lose respect for other people's ability to have opposing views.
Like if you can't have a conversation with somebody that disagrees with you, then just shut up and go away. Like, just don't talk to them.
Yeah.
You know.
I mean, and I know there are times you'll choose to not even engage with, some people who will comment on your content because, sometimes it's not worth engaging, in the conversation, but then I've seen you engage with some people and if you follow his social media and you see there are times when you will engage, but it's like or times when people will send you like hateful messages and then you'll respond and be like, okay, let's talk about this, and what's interesting is when you open up the conversation, a lot of times they'll back down and be like, okay, like, I came at you a little hard, and, this has definitely been something that we've just been trying to process.
Again, I don't have a Charlie Kirk shirt. I'm not a member of Turning Point USA. That's not to say that I don't agree with the things that he said. But it's just, honestly, it's just stupid and it pisses me off, the whole thing. And it should piss you off too, because this isn't the answer.
Yeah.
So, and again, if for some reason you think this is cool or good, you need to leave because this isn't the place for you. I don't get into politics. There's a reason I don't, because I'm not here to divide based on political opinion.
Yeah.
But this isn't about political opinion. This is about human life. And the fact that a human life was taken for something as stupid as someone disagreed with what he said. So, again, if I'm a little bit salty, you'll know why.
Well, and it doesn't help that, the topic we're about to get into is a salty topic, but it honestly just kind of feeds right. I mean, we're talking about injustices, and I
think veterans particularly have a very difficult time dealing with injustices because they join the military to prevent injustices at some level.
Yeah.
And then when they see injustice in a country that they fought for, it's just amplified. The anger, the frustration is just amplified. It is for me, and I know it is for others, because I've spoken to a few people today that have said the same thing. No, we wanted, this episode was supposed to be, and it still will be, about just the effects of how everything, the effects of everything that happened with me at my former employer, and how it affected our family, how it's still affecting our family, how it's still affecting me, how it's affecting my wife. Um,
And not just the effects of it, but kind of getting into more what happened,
yeah,
because, I know you shared
a little bit.
kind
I
of kind
mean,
of like kind of gave like a baseline long long story short. Um is that
just a
yeah,
broad
just a
overview
broad
of
overview over
everything.
what happened, but it's kind of sort of important to get into the details to kind of understand how bad of an injustice this was, for you, and for those who haven't listened before or aren't familiar with, can you tell them what happened and what we're about to talk about,
Yeah,
like.
I was, ultimately, what it comes down to is I was wrongfully fired from my position. Um, and I appealed it. It went to arbitration, and we won the arbitration because it was determined that I was wrongfully fired.
uh,
That's the very, very, very abridged version.
can we say
Um,
what kind of position it was?
yeah, I was a police officer. Um, and they, oh, going back to 2023 in October, so almost 2 years ago now, I had basically a nervous breakdown at work.
Yeah.
I was on some new medication. I'm sorry, I was on an increased dose of my medication that I had been taking because my medication wasn't working as well. My parents were living with us. I had recently gotten into therapy because earlier that month I had relapsed really hard into alcoholism. So felt like everything was kind of falling apart. I went to work, got out of briefing. I was feeling really off that whole week. This was a Friday. I worked Wednesday to Saturday. Wednesday and Thursday, I felt horrible the whole time. Friday came around and I got to work, and we had our briefing, and then I went out to the patrol car and I parked behind one of the buildings, kind of out of sight of everybody else. Not really hiding, but just trying to stay kind of out of sight, out of mind. And I sat there for probably 2 hours and just, I called Lydia, I called her,
Well,
talked to
first you
her,
first you
and
texted me. He first had texted me and he said something to the effect of, "I'm not sure what's going on, but I feel like I'm having a nervous breakdown."
yeah,
And so then one of us, either you called me or I called you or something, and he was talking to me, and I was like, I told him, I said, "It sounds like you're in the midst of a panic attack." Um, and while we were talking it out is when, like, I realized, I was like, "You had that medicine increase a couple weeks ago, and because of." If you've listened to any of our previous episodes, you'll have heard that us mention that I, went through a period of, like, postpartum depression and anxiety, and, like, severe postpartum depression. I mean, it was like borderline psychosis, and so we were working on to get me on meds. So I was familiar with, how meds can affect you, and that sometimes, like, increasing dosage can actually cause your anxiety to just, flip through the roof. And so when we were talking on the phone, I told him, I said, "Babe, I wonder if this is because of your meds, because you increase the dose, and sometimes that can be a side effect, and it sometimes takes a couple weeks for it to, like, fully be in your system and be, acting." And um but then didn't you call, like, your dad and then your best friend or something?
I know I called my dad. I don't know that I called my friend. I don't think I did. I texted him.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
but it came down to, we decided that I shouldn't be at work.
Yeah.
It was that bad. And it's not like an office job where you can sit at your desk and just kind of,
Work through it.
and hide all day long, you know. So I contacted my supervisor and I asked him to come meet me out behind the annex building. And he came out and we talked and I kind of explained what was going on. He could tell that I was upset, obviously, because I was crying. I was
Yeah.
just really emotional about everything because I didn't know really what was going on.
Well, and you have to understand that before this point, he'd never experienced a panic attack before. Like, I have. And so when he was, like, going through this, I was like, "You're having a panic attack." Like, that's what's going on. But he had never experienced that before. So, like, this was new to him. And, anyway, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
So I talked to my supervisor and I basically explained to him what's going on and tell him, like, I need to go home. I need to schedule an appointment with my therapist. I need to get my medication adjusted. Um, and I need to do that right now because I don't need to be at work. And he agreed. Um, I drove around to my truck and I unloaded all my stuff into the truck. And he basically said, like, just go home. Let me know what happens. Let me know if you'll be here tomorrow because I was still supposed to work that Saturday. And then that was it. So
And what's ironic is back in 2023, you even made an episode. What makes all of this ironic, if you have listened to all of his podcast episodes, he actually mentioned this back in, I think you made an episode in November of 2023, like talking about this incident and how supportive your supervisor was and how supportive everybody was and
yep,
everybody treated you well and, like, didn't.
yeah.
So keep that irony in mind. Okay. So especially if you heard that episode, you'll go through it being encouraged and thinking, wow, like, it being transparent about stuff like this isn't so bad.
Yeah.
And so just keep that in mind.
Well, so I went home and I got a therapy appointment and I talked to my doctor and got my medication adjusted. And I texted my supervisor later that day and was like, I'm definitely not going to be able to work tomorrow because I'm still, like, I went home, went to sleep, got up, went to my therapy appointment, went to my doctor's appointment, came home and immediately went back to bed because I was just so exhausted. Um, the next day, that Saturday, like I said, I called off work. So I took 2 sick days.
Hmm.
Um, and then the following Wednesday, I was back at work and I was feeling quite a bit better. Um, kind of took it easy, but was still there.
Yeah.
And that was it.
Yeah.
No other issues,
Nope.
no panic attacks, no issues at work. I didn't have to call in sick
Yeah.
at all.
It legitimately was because of the increase in the meds, because once that was out of his system, that 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 extra amount was out of his system, he was back to being, like, leveled off and okay.
So fast forward to the end of April 2024. We're in briefing and the same supervisor is leading briefing, concludes his briefing from, the night shift. He, tells us, hey, this happened, that happened, whatever. Okay, I'm done. You guys are, that's all I have for you guys, is what he said. He said that every time he was done. That's all I have for you guys. If you have anything for me, let me know. First day of the shift, first day of the week, for us is Wednesday. We all kind of sat around and we just chat. Nobody really runs out the door
Well,
usually.
and when he said
But one of the officers did leave because
di
he's not really sociable. No, he's whatever. It's just not him. So he left.
but it's key to point that
And
it's not like it's not like that officer to leave without,
yeah,
because you had said
no, briefing was done.
he doesn't leave unless, like, briefing's done, unless he's told, like, you're good to go.
Yeah, briefing was done. So we start talking with another officer who had been on the first half of the week on Monday, and she was telling us about an incident that happened where a guy, he was suicidal. So one of the officers showed up to do an EDO, an emergency detention order on him, and the guy had a knife, and he wouldn't comply with the officer's commands. And there was like the guy's family was there, and they were trying to like shield him from the officer, and he had a knife, and the officer's like, "Will you get out of the way and let me do my job? Like, stop, you know." So you've got like unarmed civilians, you got dude with a knife who's like obviously in the middle of an episode, like some kind of psychotic episode, and he's like the only officer there at this point. So he has his gun drawn, and then at one point he holsters his gun and pulls his taser. So he just downgraded his level of force while this guy still had a deadly weapon in his hand. So again, officer safety issue number one, like you don't do that. And that should have been talked about and discussed by the sergeant in briefing, but it wasn't. It was brought up by this other officer during casual conversation after briefing was done. So we continued discussing this, and then it turns out that they were able to get him subdued eventually because he tried tasing him. It didn't work. A sheriff's deputy showed up. They were able to get him taken into custody. The whole time that we're having this conversation, the supervisor just sitting there listening to everything.
Mm-hmm.
He had a little bit to chime in. He's like, well, that's not exactly what happened. What happened was this, that, or the other. And all of us kind of at the same time were like, why weren't we told about this? Like, where was the MIB, the major incident briefing? Where was the email saying, hey, if you have to EDO this guy, just know last time we dealt with him, he had a knife and was non-compliant. We never got a name.
Yeah.
We never got an address. We never got a picture. Nothing. We never got anything. We never got any information regarding who this guy was.
Which is pretty standard for a situation like this, right? Like that's what to be expected.
Yeah, I mean, if it's not, it should be, because
Yeah.
if you're dealing, if you have dealt with somebody in the past who has been non-compliant or violent, and especially if they've used a weapon,
Yeah.
we need to know who this guy is and where he lives.
Well, especially if you end up interacting with that person, you know, if you don't know that there was already an incident with this person.
Like, there was no briefing at all. There was
Right.
there was nothing like, hey, we had an incident where one of our officers almost, had to deal with a guy with a knife, or there's nothing at all. Nothing was brought up about this. So I look at my supervisor and I was like, why weren't we told about this? And he got kind of this snide look on his face, like, it wasn't a big deal. And I was like, no, that absolutely is a big deal. Like, dude had a knife, was non-compliant, an officer had to use force, and we still don't know who this guy is. And I even said, like, what's his name? And he's like, well, I don't know. And I'm like, well, we need to know. And he goes, no, you don't. But just like that, but just in that snide, like, condescending, like, no, not a big deal. No. And I was like, no, this is a big deal, and we need to know about it, because this wasn't the first time this had happened either. There was another event a couple months prior where two officers the guy even admitted he was going to shoot them had he grabbed the right backpack out of the back of his car. And anyway, there's a big long thing where they got into this rip snorting fight with this guy. I mean, it was a fight. Like, it wasn't just a little scuffle. They were swinging, kicking, punching. One officer almost got knocked out. They used a taser multiple times. They had to break his window, drag him out of the car. After he had gotten back in the car, he rammed a patrol car. It was crazy. All this stuff. Nothing was sent out. No information about this guy. And he lived in the city that we worked in. No information.
Mm-hmm.
None. Not a name, address, picture, date of birth, nothing. So I was already a little bit amped up about that. And then this happens and we don't get any information on that either. So I'm like, when are y'all going to tell us these things? When are y'all going to inform us of these officer safety incidents?
Well, and I think it's also important to note that you had actually addressed this issue with your supervisor before, because you had gone to your supervisor respectfully and and had addressed this.
Yeah.
And didn't you say you had addressed it like twice before?
It was at least twice because
Yeah.
there was another incident that happened with
Yeah.
another guy that lived in that city.
Well, and I don't know if we
And-
need to
Well, I'm
get
just
into all.
saying,
Yeah.
like, there was another incident that I was like, again, we're not being told who these people
Yeah.
are or
Yeah.
anything. So we get into it a little bit, and I'm like, this is ridiculous that you're not telling us this stuff. You're failing at your job, basically, is what I told him. I just basically called him out and was like, you're not doing your job. The PD is not doing their job in informing us, and someone's going to get hurt. And I said, that's when you're actually going to do something about it, is when an officer gets hurt or killed.
Yeah.
And until then, you're not going to do anything because y'all don't care.
Yeah.
And he was like, yeah, well, maybe. And he just, again, he was just being very
Mhm.
condescending and very disrespectful. And I escalated kind of to match his energy and was like, all right, I'm out of here. And I grabbed my stuff and I left.
But you were screaming at him and cussing him out.
Yep. Which all the witnesses that during the arbitration, all the witnesses said, no, he raised his voice, but he didn't yell, or didn't scream, and didn't cuss at him. So,
Yeah.
So I left. I go outside.
Well, you said one cuss word.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As I was, but
As
I mean,
he was walking
everybody
out.
else says cuss words all day long,
Yeah.
and I didn't yell it at him. I just yelled it in frustration,
And
I left.
well, and you were addressing the situation.
Yeah.
'cause
I was pissed.
You
'cause-
said this is effing ridiculous.
No, I said this is uneffing believable.
Oh, yeah.
Because I was like,
For
this
some
is
reason, I was like-
unbelievable. Like,
I knew it was something to that effect. I
because
knew
again, it was.
Yeah.
I was like, this is unbelievable. Like, I'm
Yeah.
literally just like, literally asked this guy, like, why are you not telling us this stuff?
And then he's just,
And he gets super defensive and
Yeah.
butthurt that I called him out. I'm
it's not a
like,
big deal.
go cry about
Not
it,
a big
dude.
deal.
Jeez, maybe just do your job and stop sucking at your job.
You know what's interesting is, when you were telling me about, how exactly that situation went down, and when you said he was saying like it's not a big deal, and all that stuff, and just in that arrogant and snidey
Yep.
like type of attitude, it's like you can picture it in your mind, and I did, but when I saw the way he behaved in the arbitration, it was like it's completely solidified.
Yep. Because he behaved
Completely-
the exact same
He
way
behaved the exact same way
with the attorney,
with the attorney in the arbitration.
with my attorney.
Yeah.
My attorney was questioning him, and he's like, yeah, yeah. And it was just that disrespectful, condescending, I'm better than you,
Well, and what was
and the arbitrator was like, literally at one point was like,
yeah.
did the whole like, ugh,
If
looking
you're-
at him
if
like,
you're listening, yeah, she
like,
made
gross.
it
Like,
very just
dude,
like
what is wrong with you?
like well, and it was wild because your attorney kept catching him in lies,
Yeah.
and he was doubling down on
Yeah.
his lies
well, it gets better.
in front of the arbitrator. But yeah,
the
it does
story
get
gets
better.
better. So
Yeah.
before we get all to all that,
I know. I just
like,
yeah.
I know. So, but like I go outside and I load my stuff I get in the patrol car. Anyway, so I back up and I'd go around to my car and I'm loading my stuff into the patrol car. And he comes out and kind of almost like traps me between two vehicles, which I was like, really, dude, I'm already mad at you and you're really going to like corner me. Like, this just seems like one, poor leadership. Two, you're stupid. Like, don't do that. So, and he's like, hey, you're not going to talk to me that way. And I was like, okay. At this point, I had started to calm down a little bit and I was like, I need to stop because I'm going to get myself in trouble. Even though I know that I'm right, I still can't be disrespectful because for some reason they gave this guy rank and I need to respect the rank, not him, because he's an idiot, but his rank matters. So anyway, I was like, okay, yes. Okay. And he's like, you can't talk to me that way. If we need to have these conversations like respectfully and not in front of everybody. And I was like, okay, it won't happen again. And I just kind of stood there and he just stood there. And there was this long, awkward pause. And I was like, okay, are we done? Can I go? And he stepped aside and I went and I threw my stuff in the patrol car and I closed the thing and I did not leave. I just sat there. And he went back into the building, hung out for a little bit, took some deep breaths, was like, okay, fine. Whatever. I'm calm. I'm
Mhm.
fine. That was it. Leave, go throughout the day, whatever.
Well, no, didn't another officer come out and
well, yeah, I talked
yeah,
with
another officer
He
came
just,
out and talked with you.
asked, what was going on. And I was like, I'm just pissed that we're not getting necessary information.
Yeah, and
And
ironically,
it's a problem that is, it's the whole PD is dealing with this problem, not
Yeah.
just us, and it needs to be fixed.
Yeah. Well, and it's
Thought that I could
interesting.
trust that officer.
Yeah, because
and
he came out kind of going from the stance of like, "Hey, I'm just checking on you, want to
Yeah.
make sure
and
everything's
he was
okay."
he's a snitch.
you
He's a
know,
snitch.
and he ended up being
He's a rat.
he
I mean,
ended up
he's
being a
just-
snake in the grass,
yeah.
and which was awful because I feel like, you know, obviously we'll get into that later, but I think him lying about you ended up being one of the biggest betrayals in all of this.
Yeah, I mean, I
And
thought I could trust him,
yeah,
at least to an
you
extent.
thought he was
At
a
this point, I
friend.
thought I still could.
Thought he was a friend at
Yeah.
this point, you know.
So not the next day, but the following day. So that was a Wednesday. The following Friday, and I get told by a lieutenant that I'm going to get a counseling, and I was like, well, you're gonna counsel me?
I'm
like,
so scared.
take that counseling and wipe my butt with it. I don't care. Like, it's a piece of paper. Like, I'm sorry. Like, okay, I'll be counseled. Probably won't be the last time, but okay. It won't happen again. You can slap my fingers, whatever. Naughty me. Like, So the sergeant calls me into his office, and I'm like, yep, here we go. So he hands me the counseling form, and he's like, hey, this is the counseling for the what happened during briefing on Wednesday. I was like, okay. So I read it. Problem number one, I read it, right? I should have just signed it. I'm just kidding. I shouldn't have. But
No,
I read this
'cause
document,
honestly,
and
yeah.
it was full of lies.
Yep.
And I was like, I read it, and it's like he says he was passing information during briefing. Like, I was making the shift aware of an event that took place earlier in the week when Officer Eldridge became irate and started screaming. And I'm like, okay, there's 3 things that did not happen in that one sentence. You were not passing the information. I did not become irate, and I did not scream. So the first sentence of his counseling document, I'm already like, yeah, I'm not signing this because this is bogus. Then he goes on to say that I was cussing at him and I stormed out during briefing, which was not true.
Not true.
Did not cuss at him. I stormed out. I guess walking out angrily means I stormed out. Like, cool use of big words. So then he says that I screamed at him in the parking lot, threw my stuff in my patrol vehicle, and squealed the tires leaving the parking lot. And I was like, none of that happened. So we have the counseling. We'll call it, he's counseling me. Like, you can't talk to me that way. And we need to have these conversations, in a civil manner. And I'm like, well, we did have a conversation and nothing changed. And I told him that. I was like, we did have a conversation and nothing changed. Like, we're still not receiving information. And he's like, well, that's not my fault. And I was like, and I didn't say this in a harsh way, but I said it directly. I was like, well, I'm sorry, but whose fault is it? Like, you're the supervisor. If you're not gonna pass the information, who's supposed to? Like, I don't get these briefs from the other shifts. You do. So if you're not gonna pass the information, like, whose fault is it? And that's when I was kind of like, it seems like it's a PD problem. Like, lieutenants and sergeants aren't communicating, or they're communicating, but they're not communicating to us
across shifts.
The guys that they were communicating between shifts.
Oh,
it just wasn't getting passed to the patrol officers, the guys who actually need the information.
Yeah.
So that's why I was upset. And I'm telling him this, and he's like, okay, well, you need to go ahead and just sign the counseling. And I was like, and here we go. And I was like, I can't sign this because this isn't true. This isn't true. This isn't true. This isn't true. And I just kept going all the way down. And I pointed out every single inaccuracy. And he's like, and I basically said, this isn't how it happened. And he goes, no, that is exactly how it happened.
Well, and you didn't even tell him that it was that he lied. You just
I just said this isn't how it happened.
You just said it's inaccurate.
It's inaccurate. This isn't how it happened.
Yeah.
And I was like, and I started asking him specific things. I was like, this didn't happen during briefing. And he goes, well, it happened in the briefing room. And I said, conversations happen in the briefing room all the time. That doesn't mean they're part of briefing. And he's like, well, it happened in the briefing room. So you need to sign this. And I'm like, no, I didn't cuss at you. And he's, yes, you did. I'm like, no, I didn't. I cussed on my way out. Didn't cuss at you. I didn't scream at you. I raised my voice. I did not scream. And you did not see me peel out and squeal tires leaving the parking lot. And he goes, well, another officer told me that you did. And I was like, so you're going to counsel me based on the word of another officer?
Yeah. Based on hearsay.
Based on here's, I was like, so you never saw me do that, but you put it in a counseling that's going to go in my official record, and I'm supposed to just sign this? And I just told him I'm not signing it. And he goes, you will sign it. And I was like, I don't think you heard me. Like, I'm not signing it. And what are you gonna do? Make me? Like, no, it's not gonna happen. So the conversation starts getting heated, and I'm like, I'm not signing it. Like, this is ridiculous. You're lying about what happened, and I'm not signing this. And he's like, you need to go. And I'm like, go where? Like, what do you mean go? Like, go.
Go
and
home?
He just, like, go home. Like,
go out of the office.
And he's like, you just need to go. I'm like, go where? And then he stands up and he's like, like shouting. And then he's like, he's like, you need to get out. I'm like, whatever. I was like, why can't we just have this conversation? Like, we're trying to have this conversation and you're the one freaking out. And he's like, get out of the office. And I was like, whatever, dude. So then this other officer.
Yeah, I was going to say, there's another officer.
Was like, hey, let's just separate. Like, you need to leave the office. And I was like, whatever. And I stood up with the counseling in my hand and I was like, what do I do with this? He goes, leave it here. And I was like, meh. And I just dropped it on the floor. Just dropped it on the floor. I was like, fine, I'll leave it here. Dropped it on the floor and left. So that's when the supervisor and all of his manliness went and complained to the lieutenant and cried and said he needed to file an internal complaint against me. So I got sent home on administrative leave. But they didn't even tell me I was on administrative leave. The lieutenant came out and said, hey, you need to go home. We'll call you when you can come back.
Yep.
And I'm like, great. So I go home, take my stuff, go home. Get contacted a few days later. Hey, you're on admin leave.
No, you didn't. You called them.
Well, I had called them and then they contacted me.
Yeah, you called
they
them
didn't say a
because
word.
you were like, because he was in this silence. We were in this silence, and I, like, 2 days went by, and I was like, babe, like, are they going to let you know what's going on?
Yeah.
And so then he called the lieutenant, and then did the lieutenant say that he would call you back, or I don't remember.
I just know that I called them, and then they eventually called me and were like, hey, I need you to come to the office and I'll kind of explain what's going on. I'm like, okay. So I go in, I get Garrity. They give me the Garrity warning, and then they tell me I'm under investigation, and I'm like, okay, whatever. So they ask me what happened. I tell them exactly what happened.
Yeah.
Long story short, I'm on admin leave. They get to the end of their investigation, and I get notified that I'm getting a written reprimand. I get called into the office, and this is where I really started to suspect things were getting weird. I get called into the office with the chief. So I show up, and it's the chief, the assistant chief, and the HR director. And I'm like, that's a little odd. It's just a personnel issue, a discipline issue. The HR director shouldn't be here.
Like, doesn't need to be here.
And she's also the civil service director, which, again, the old brain is braining. And I'm like, that's not good. Go in, sit down. He's like, hey, just want to let you know, you're getting a written reprimand. And I'm like, okay. So instead of a slap on the wrist, it's a slap on the behind. Got it. Like, again, like, I don't, like, cool story, bro. Like, okay, cool. Thanks. So I signed the written reprimand. He goes, now, slides it off to the side. And he's like, to the next order of business. I'm like, oh, there's more. Awesome. Slides this thing across the table, the desk. And he's like, we are sending you for a psychological fit for duty exam. And I was like, I'm sorry, Gesundheit. What did you say? Like, a what? And he's like, it's a psychological fit for duty exam to make sure that you're psychologically fit to serve as a police officer. And I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, why would an argument with my supervisor and calling him out for lying result in me needing to go for this psychological fit for duty?
Especially when they had deemed it as only worthy of a written reprimand.
Right. It was,
and keep in mind, you didn't have any prior disciplinary issues. So it's not like zero.
Yeah.
And he had been working with the department.
No citizen complaints.
Thing.
Supervisor complaints, no disciplinary issues, nothing.
So
I take that back. I had one.
Well, and that one got deemed.
Write up. No, it was a write up. It was a counseling because I was involved in an accident where I was driving really fast to what was reported as an active shooter at the high school.
Yeah.
I went to go around this car and they decided to turn left in front of me, even though I had my lights and sirens on, and I clipped the front of their vehicle, and they decided to say that I was not exercising due care for the public or some crap.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay. So I'll just drive slow when I'm going to the active shooter who's murdering kids, I guess. So
Thankfully, it was not.
it was a spam call.
It ended up being a spam
It was a
call,
prank
but
call. But regardless, anyway, that was the only thing I had.
Right.
Super minor. It had been like a year and a half since there, almost 2 years since then.
Yeah. And you had been working. So by the time all of this happened, you'd been working with the department for what, 4 years?
Like 3.5.
3. Okay.
I grabbed the paper and I'm reading it, and it starts referencing the day that I had the nervous breakdown back in October of 2023, 6 months prior, or 8 months prior. And I'm like, what the heck? Like, what is going on? Like, this has not been mentioned one time. Not once. I'm reading it and it says, I was made aware of an event that took place in October of 2023. And I'm looking at it and I look at the date, and I got the notice of my discipline, I think, on May 18th. And I may have the dates a little bit wrong, but like 3 days before that is what the date was on this. Like I was notified on May 15th, like 3 days before I got issued my discipline. And it says, I was made aware of an event that took place in October where you were visibly and physically distraught enough that your supervisor told you to lock your weapons in your locker and go home.
Well, and it even said that his supervisor found him.
Yeah, found me so distraught that he sent me home, and was so concerned about my safety and the safety of others that he had me lock my weapons in my locker. If you'll recall from earlier on, that did not happen.
And if you listened to the episode that he said that he recorded back in November, after that incident, you'll know, like you'll be listening to the story going, hold up. That's not the testimony that he gave in that podcast episode back in November of 2023.
Yeah. So I'm looking at this and I'm like, and I can already see there's discrepancies in this document they're giving me. And I'm also at this point, I'm so caught off guard and my head is spinning that I'm like, I can't even argue right now because I'm just like, what the actual F is going on? Like, so, and it was at this point that I started to realize, like, I think they're really like trying to get rid of me.
Yeah.
This was when it really started to sink in. And I'm like, what the? And I'm like, and then the HR director, the civil service director starts talking to me and she's like, see, we use this as we just have to make sure that you're okay. And we want what's best for you and what's best for your family. And we just want to make sure that you're okay. And this just on and on and on. And I was like, okay, so how does this work? I have to get cleared by a psychologist or psychiatrist or what? And they said yes. And I was like, well, I have a licensed counselor that I'm seeing. Does it have to be a doctor, or can it be a licensed therapist? And I was like, because I've been seeing him since October of 2023. So I'd been seeing him for 8 months at this point. And the civil service director leans forward in her chair and goes, don't you think it's concerning that even though you've been seeing this therapist for 8 months, that it's concerning that you're still having these outbursts of aggression?
Still having, as if you were having...
I had 1.
Yeah.
And they wanted to try and say that it was 2.
Yeah.
Because of the event that happened in briefing and then the event that happened when I got the counseling.
Wasn't really in briefing, but...
Which it was regardless. And I was like, outbursts of aggression? What are you talking about? Like this
is the gaslighting that's starting to occur.
Again, from anger management. Sir, I need you to stop yelling. I'm not yelling. Sir, I need you to stop yelling. I'm not yelling.
Yeah.
They're like, well, I need you to stop being so crazy. And I'm like, I'm not crazy. I'm literally just sitting here talking to you. And I'm like, and then they're like, well, you have to pay for this psychological exam. It has to be done by a psychologist or a psychiatrist, a forensic psychiatrist. And I'm like, and again, my whole head is just spinning at this point. I'm like, I'm so confused. Like, I thought I was coming back to work. I get a slap on the wrist, like, hey, don't do that again. And then I go back to work. Now, all of a sudden, I'm getting told I got to figure this out. And I'm like, okay, so how long do I have to do this? And they're like, until you basically have until you can get it done.
Until you can get it done.
How long? What does that mean?
Yeah.
So
there was 0 timeline given There was no, it was just, it literally was like, you need to do this, now go.
Yeah. So now I'm also like, so the supervisor that I'm dealing with had lied about me during the complaint.
Mm-hmm.
Now he was lying about what happened in October.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when I realized I couldn't trust this dude as far as I could throw him, and he's fat, so I couldn't throw him very far at all. So I don't care. So,
Oh, man, you're slinging a lot of
He's-
hate balls right now.
he's fat.
Oh
So
my goodness.
like,
Oh, hopefully he doesn't listen to this.
I hope he does. So I don't care. Like, so he's already lied about me multiple times. So I go and get this forensic. At this point, I contact my attorney.
Yeah.
And then the guy that I talked to the first time when I contacted them, he was like, "Why didn't you contact us when this first started?" And I was like, "I did, genius.
Yeah,
And you told me not to worry about it."
Well, he did, and that's the thing. Like when the first investigation went down, he called. He called
Because I had coverage through like it's almost like a police union kind of thing, but it's
Yeah.
not. It's anyway.
And so no, actually, you called them when they initially were trying to send you when
Oh,
they
yeah.
started to send you for the fitness for
Yeah.
duty. He called them because he and I
Like, this sounds like they're targeting
this sounds
me
like they're targeting him
and like trying to get rid of me.
And so he called them, and the guy said, the guy told him, he's like, you just need to do it. This
Yep.
is normal protocol. If they're
Yep.
worried about your mental health or anything, it's just normal protocol. Just do it. And but then later,
Yeah, I call again, and he's like, "Why didn't you call us when this first happened?" And I was like,
uh,
"Do you not recall the conversation we had like a couple weeks ago?" Like, I get you get a lot of phone calls, but I don't think you have that many regarding this specific situation.
well, because
Anyway,
we called again when the crap was hitting the fan, when we could not. Oh no. Well, we're gonna avoid. There's a piece of information that
there's certain details.
there's certain details that we
Yeah.
just for your protection we
So
can't say. But
I contacted them again. They get my attorney involved. I end up getting psychologically cleared by a forensic psychiatrist, my personal doctor, and my therapist. They all wrote letters, said that I was perfectly capable of serving my position.
Yeah. I think one thing that may be an important detail to say, because this just shows you like how shady and stuff they were. So without going into major detail, it was made apparent to us that they were trying to affect the outcome
Yeah.
of what your fitness for duty test was going to be. And when we realized that,
Yeah, that's when
you got
attorney.
your.
Well, because the original doctor that I was trying to go to received some documents from the city that that didn't include anything regarding my discipline or anything else, and that didn't even involve me. But they never sent it to me to show me or tell me what it was.
Yeah.
So they were clearly trying to influence this guy's decision. Anyway, regardless, I got cleared and I went back to work. So I was off from April to July. So May, June, and July. So 3 months at home. Like,
And that's when you built the treehouse, isn't it?
I built an entire massive treehouse.
A massive treehouse. He
Like-
promised our kids he would build them a treehouse. He built them a treehouse.
I built a
like
tree
legit house.
like house. It's not like a clubhouse. It's like
No.
it's not like a 6x6 little treehouse. It's like you can live in that thing.
It's seriously.
I come back to work. I was offered the opportunity to switch shifts so I could be with a different supervisor, but the only other shift they wanted to offer me was the other end of the week at night. And I'm like, nights are terrible for me because I have 6
Yeah.
kids. That end of the week is bad because I can't go to church and it's just not conducive to our schedule.
Yeah.
Most importantly, I couldn't go to church with my
Yeah.
family. And I was like, no, I'll just
Work it
hopefully we
out.
can be men and we can work it out. Like, we had a disagreement, we can move on.
Yeah.
And I was like perfectly okay with that. I was wrong. So September rolls around, and so I'm there from the end of July till the end of September. I was on the SWAT team, and I went to SRT training. They call it the SRT. They don't call it SWAT anymore generally. They just call it SRT. So I went to SRT training. I had been sick that whole week leading up to SRT training. I had really bad diarrhea, was really dehydrated, dealing with a fever. Went to SRT training. We did a PT set at the beginning. I got really sick, ended up puking my brains out. The fireman came and found me because we had TAC meds on the team. And he's like, "Hey, are you okay? Like, you don't look good." And I'm like, "No, I'm not okay. I feel like garbage and I'm puking my brains out and I'm super dehydrated." And he's like, "Well, let's get you an IV." So, excuse me. I get an IV and it makes me feel good enough to stick around. We weren't, we weren't really doing a whole lot. So I knew I could kind of just stand there and get through the rest of the training. We were doing demo at the range. So we weren't running around doing room clearing or anything like that. So I go to the range, basically stand there the whole time, go home that night. And I've got almost a migraine, not quite a migraine headache, but it's really bad because I'm so dehydrated.
Yeah.
Wake up in the morning feeling the exact same. So I call in sick. I'm like, "Hey, I can't come in. Like I feel horrible." Should be noted that I was not the only person that was sick that week. There were several other people at the PD that were sick and people on the
Because there was
SRT that were sick as well.
flu was going around and like
So
all sorts of stuff.
I call in sick on Friday. I come back to work on Saturday.
Mm-hmm.
Couple days or a week go by, week or 2 weeks.
I was
can't
gonna say it was
remember.
about 2 weeks ish.
Yeah. So I come to work and I get called into the lieutenant's office, the SRT commander. And he hands me a letter and he's like, "Hey, just wanted you to know you're being removed from the SRT."
That's it. Like,
And I'm like, "Excuse you? Like, for what?" And he's like, "Well, there's been reports that you've been using your sick days in conjunction with SRT training in an effort to get extended time off." And again, I'm like, I'm caught off guard. And I'm like, what the actual F is going on? Like, are you serious? Like,
well,
so
it was
I get the
definitely
paper.
like a here we go again.
Yeah, I get the
moment.
paper and I'm looking at it and I'm like, and this is the removal letter. Like, "Hey, you've been removed. Like, please turn your gear in at the earliest convenience to the team leader." And then I look at this other letter and it's a memo from that same supervisor listing all of the days that I had taken.
No
sick time.
explanation, just
days.
Just the accusation. And he even put in there like that, he was trying to get extended time off by attaching days to
either long weekends or SRT
long
training.
weekends or SRT training.
So they kicked me off the SRT. And I'm like, okay. So I'm obviously super upset. I go to my patrol car and I'm reading through this memo and I'm looking at it and I'm like, well, this date's wrong. This date, like, I can tell you why I was sick on all these dates. Like, I have really good recall and I can sit there and look at a date and be like, yeah, I was doing this that day, especially if it's like involving work. Cause like I only worked certain days and just the nature of the job that I had, I generally knew what happened on those days. So I'm looking at these and I'm like, well, that day I was snowed in at my house, my driveway. We live at the bottom of a hill. I couldn't even get out of my driveway to get to the hill because there was so much ice. And I called my supervisor and I'm like, "Hey, I don't know what to do." And he's like, "Well, just take a sick day because you can't make it. So there's nothing we can do. Just take a sick day." And I'm like, "All right." So I take a sick day. It ices again that night. So I call him and I'm like, "Hey, I'm just going to take a vacation day tomorrow because like I'm not going to be able to make it. And I don't want you guys wondering if I'm going to come in." So I take vacation, which I had, and on top of a sick day, which I had. And then I went back to work that Saturday. Fast forward a couple weeks, couple months, whatever. I had poison ivy in my eye. My eye was swollen shut. I have pictures of this. Again, there was a bunch of other times that I just got sick and was, ill, and I went to the doctor and I have receipts from all this stuff. He put in there 2 days that I had called in sick after SRT training. The 2 days that he put on there were the days that I was sent home on admin leave by him. He sent me home and then put on there, he called in sick. And I'm like, bro, are you like, you're not even like a good liar. Like you're really bad at this. So I go to my lieutenant and I'm like, "Hey, we need to talk about this. Like, this is completely inaccurate. Again, he's misrepresenting me. He's lying about me. What do I do?" He's like, "Put it in a memo, like all the, reasons for your, use of sick leave, and then we'll discuss it." And he said, we didn't do any kind of investigation into any of this.
He said that. We didn't do any kind of investigation.
We took him at his word.
Because we hope that our supervisors are honest with us.
Right.
That's what he said.
Yes, he said that to me. And I was like, well, he wasn't. So I'll get this typed up. Later that day, around noon, this was probably around 8 a.m, 9 o'clock-ish. Around noon, I end up going to a call where, and it should be noted that I had dealt with multiple calls throughout the day at this point, and had no issues. But I go to a call at a Taco Bell, and this guy is irate because the Brinks security driver had the audacity to park in the handicap spot so he could go in and get his bag of money and come back out. So he like confronts this Brinks security contractor with his phone in his hand, like filming him. He's like, oh, why are you parking in the handicap spot, you POS? He's cussing him out, screaming at him, and then the guy's like, you better back off. Like the Brinks security driver's like, dude, back off. And he puts his hand on his gun and the guy's like, I'm going to take that gun and shove it up your ass. Regardless, the dude's unhinged, right? I get there. There's another officer and his recruit, because there was an FTO and a recruit there. It was my section, so I wanted to go there and make sure that I was, if this was going to turn into anything, I was going to take it because it was my section, unless the FTO wanted the new recruit to take it so he could, for training purposes. So I show up and I'm like, he's just giving this recruit what for, and I'm getting pissed off because, like, it's just making me mad that he's talking to this recruit like he's dumb.
Yeah.
So I step in and I'm like, what do you want to happen, dude? Like, why are you complaining about this? This is stupid. And he's like, oh, it's stupid? It's stupid to break the law? I'm like, what law was broken? He parked in a handicap spot? Get over yourself, bro. Like, knock it off. You're being petty. Like, quit. So I had just been removed from the SRT. How would you say it? Unjustly.
Yeah. Yep.
My character was attacked
based on lies
by the same
supervisor.
Who was not in town. He had left for a conference out of town. So of course I couldn't even couldn't even talk to him or confront him because he was gone. So I was like, I'm already pissed off. And then this dude just starts pushing my buttons. So I get a little bit more amped up. I called him I don't normally cuss on the show, but I called him a petty asshole. And then when he said, where's your supervisor? I said, I've called them. You can effing wait.
It should be noted.
That was it, by the way.
Yeah.
That was it.
Yeah.
That was it.
Yeah. It should be noted that, so they made such a huge deal about this issue that I genuinely was like thinking that this was going, that I was going to feel embarrassed or upset when I saw the video. So in arbitration, like I was able to attend, because it's very much like a courtroom, so you can have people. It was set up like a mock courtroom, so you could have audience members and stuff. So I went. I was the only one who went. But when they started playing the video, I literally, like, my jaw like hit the floor, because I was like, and not for the reason you're thinking, for the reason that I was like, that's it. Wait, they fired him?
Yeah. Because he filed a complaint against me.
Which I think he was, I personally think he's coerced.
I don't think he was.
You don't think he was encouraged to?
No, because I've seen the video, and he left, and no one really, he was on video the whole time. No one said anything.
Okay.
He was just a jerk.
Yeah.
So he filed a complaint and showed the assistant chief took the complaint. Or no, I'm sorry, my lieutenant took the complaint. He ran to the assistant chief, brought him into the room. They both watched the cell phone video this guy had and immediately put me on administrative leave.
Yeah.
I was on the way to another call. It should be noted, there was no fight. There was no physical contact.
No physical contact.
I didn't scream.
Nothing.
I didn't scream at him.
No.
I didn't try to approach him. Nothing.
And also in the video, okay, so so this kind of helps you understand where his stance and mentality was. So there's almost like a rail. There was like a railing.
Because there's an outdoor dining area.
Yeah.
We were standing next to.
So he was like leaning. He was leaning, not the other guy. Like my husband was like leaning on the railing and like legs kind of like crossed, like ankles crossed. So in like a relaxed position, talking to this man, and it was like he was firm, but not yelling.
Yeah.
Just firmly talking to the man. When you stood up, he stood up, but only after the man started to walk towards him.
Yeah, he started to approach me, and I basically told him, like, don't approach me.
And you see it in the video. You
Yeah.
see it, and of course, the video that they played was the guy's cell phone video,
No, of course.
and not the body
my
cam,
video.
not the body cam video.
Which I don't know why they never showed my video.
I know.
Like,
well, probably because then you would have seen the guy waving,
being aggressive,
and
coming
waving
towards
his camera in your face, and you know, so the only move he made was to stand up.
It was defensive.
I
I didn't know if he was going to try to fight me. This dude was obviously unhinged.
Yeah.
And I was like, he may try to fight me. I mean, and I was all about it. I wanted him to, but I didn't.
So he went from like leaning to standing, and
but that was it.
That was it.
And then the other officer stepped in between us because he saw that we were getting verbally, argumentative. And I like look around him and I'm like, took a step to the side and I'm like, yeah, you can just keep running your mouth and being petty. And I said, again, he was triggering me because I was already upset and he was just running his mouth.
But again, you did not scream.
No.
Like, trust me, I've heard this man scream. No. I've heard this man. I've seen this.
Had I been unhinged, you would have seen it. You would have known.
Angry. And so I almost laughed when I saw the video. I like almost started laughing because I was like, wow, y'all were triggered by that. Like, you all got up. You fired him over that.
You ain't even seen me mad.
And at one point you did laugh because the guy didn't
he was so ridiculous. And he said something dumb and I literally just laughed at him. And I was like, bro,
I think he said something to the effect of like, you were acting like a child and then you laughed and you said, I'm being a child. You're the one being the child.
You're the one that called us over a Brinks security driver.
Well, and you told him, you're like, you're the one wasting our time.
Yes.
And
he didn't like that.
And it should also be noted that like then there was the FTO recruit or whatever came over and was like, hey, maybe you should just go back to your patrol car. And
guess what?
Evan did.
I did.
He did.
I was like, yep, you're right. I'm getting a little bit upset. I should just go to my car. So I did.
Yeah.
I went and I sat over there and I was like,
and it's all on video.
If anything happens, I'll be here, but I don't need to be involved because I was getting emotionally and what do they call that when I was taking things personally.
Yeah.
And I was like, I need to leave.
Yeah.
So I separated myself.
Well, and it's not necessarily that like what he was saying to you was you were taking as a personal attack. Honestly, like I feel like you could almost see that you were getting frustrated because you weren't being backed up by the other officers there.
They were also
like
just
you could tell they were all just
standing
there and like not really trying to diffuse the situation. Like honestly, like they were almost they were treating you like you were being unhinged when he was not.
Yeah.
Like I've seen the video and even the arbitrator who was watching the video the whole time, she just had this like confused look on her face.
The look that she gave, that I did earlier where she's like, like, what? And she's like, this guy seems like he's legitimately like nuts. And then, even the chief was like, oh yeah, he's a grade A asshole.
Yeah.
Like said that,
about the guy who had made the complaint.
So this is what, this is the straw that broke the camel's back.
Yeah.
So again, I leave.
Well,
I'm on my way to another call and I get a call. My in-car computer makes the noise where you've been removed from a call. It's like, kind of like, hey, you've been taken off this call. And I was like, there's no way. And I just immediately knew that I was about to get a phone call. Phone starts ringing and I'm like, I swear to God, if they put me on admin leave for this, and I get on the phone and the other supervisor who was, she was there and she's like, hey, you need to come to the office. And I was like, oh my gosh, they're going to do it again. So I go to the office, assistant chief is in there and he's like, hey, I just want to let you know you're being placed on administrative leave based on this civilian's complaint. And I was like, all right, I'm out of here. And I left, I went home and that was the last time that I worked there.
Yeah.
And, I was informed, there was a whole
there's a whole
fiasco where they failed to inform me of certain rights and I called
Oh,
them out
yeah.
on it. We called them out on
We
it
called them out
because,
on it, yeah.
and then they had to fix that, and they got butthurt about that, and then
That was another thing that in all of this, I know I said in the last episode together, I said, like, I feel like I became more knowledgeable about their regulations and everything than a lot of those officers even are, because when all of this was going down, I started reading everything. I said, I'm a researcher, and like I get fixated, and obviously I was fixated on this situation, and I got fixated, and I was like, I'm going to research and find out. And I told him, I was like, babe, they're supposed to do this and this. They did not follow protocol in this. They did not perform your right. Like, you have
No.
the right to this,
Yep.
and so anytime like any of that came up, you would contact his lawyer. You'd be like, this is what their policy is, and they did not follow policy. And
Mhm.
so thankfully his lawyer then was the liaison,
Yeah.
who was like, well, you didn't follow policy in this area, and
Yeah.
you need to fix it. And but back to the civilian incident, it should also be noted that, like, on the video, because I noticed it and the arbitrator noticed it, because she pointed it out, when before you had stepped off to your car and everything, there were actually two guys who walked by, and they patted him on the back,
Mhm.
patted my husband
Yeah.
on the back.
The crazy one.
Yes. Yeah, the one they're claiming is the crazy one.
Yeah.
They patted my husband on the back, and one of the guys said thank you.
Mhm.
And so that tells you that even the civilians,
They saw this dude for who he was.
yes,
And they
who
saw me
witnessed
telling him
it,
off.
yeah,
And they were like, thank you.
thank
Like,
you.
that's what needs to happen. This dude needs to be told off.
Yes.
And
So
I thought it
yeah.
was, and this is a side note well, never mind. I'll keep that one to myself.
Okay.
But
Tell me later.
I will. But
But I just love that the arbitrator.
Yeah, the
brought that
arbitrator
up.
was like, so
She
wait,
brought
back.
that
And
up.
she literally was like, wait, back up. Did he just pat Officer Eldridge on the shoulder? What did he say? And I was like, he said thank you.
Yeah.
I like leaned in and was like, he said thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And she's like, oh, And the chief was like,
Yeah.
I was like,
Well, I think you had said it to your lawyer.
well, I
or
said it to her.
something,
No,
but
I told her.
You
I
told
was,
her
yeah.
when you got to have your statement, your testimony. I know you said it then. So yeah. So that just gives you the picture of, like, what actually occurred in that instance. So he gets sent home, and when he came home, this is kind of where we get into the, like, emotional side of things. Like, we just knew he was done at that
Oh,
point.
I knew.
We knew.
There was no doubt in my mind they were fired.
Like, it felt as though they were just looking for something. And when this happened, they're like, we got him. We got him.
Yep. Well, and then this should be, another thing that we should talk about was when I went back to work in July, we had an incident where a vehicle had flipped off the side of a retaining wall and ended up upside down in a ditch. I got there. There was a couple other officers there. I wasn't dispatched to the call. There was only one guy who had been dispatched because it was just an accident. The rest of us were just kind of happened to be in the area. Nothing else was going on in the city. So we just kind of, there's like 5 of us there. I don't know why, but there's not even that many officers on the street, so I mean, there was most of the shift was there. And anyway, again, there's nothing else going on. So we're just kind of hanging out, and the car's upside down, and this dude's just being weird. And that's the only reason we all kind of hung out, was once we realized it was just an accident, everybody was okay. We all started to, like, get ready to leave. And then he started acting real hinky. And he was like, I'm not going to identify myself and all this other stuff. And yeah. So
that's a really interesting.
Well,
I don't
that's
know
the
if I've
word.
ever heard.
Yeah. Anyway,
I don't know if I've
that's
ever
a word
heard.
But he was acting
Hinky.
weird. He was acting sketchy. And we're all like, I might stick around, just because this dude might try to run or fight somebody. And I was like, I want to.
This is about to turn
Yeah,
interesting.
I'm going to stay. The officer working the accident goes over and he's looking, and this guy wouldn't let anybody get near his car, right? Which is, again, suspicious.
Yeah.
And one of the officers is like, hey, there's a gun, like, on the roof of the car. The car's upside down. So the gun is like where gravity would put it, on the roof. And we see it. Again, it's Texas. People have guns.
Yeah.
The issue was this dude was being weird. and we didn't want him to go to the car. So we put a couple officers kind of put themselves between him and the car, and we're like, didn't say it, but they're not going to let him get back in that vehicle. So the officer in charge of the scene is like, hey, I'm just going to secure that gun because this dude's acted weird. So I'm just going to grab it. We're not searching his car. I'm just going to grab the gun, unload it, secure it, and put it away. As they move towards the car, this dude starts to get really amped up. And I'm between him and the car. And him and the officers going to the car. And I'm like, hey, chill out. They're just going to, and he wouldn't even let me talk. I was going to tell him, like, they're just going to secure the gun. They're not searching your car.
Yeah.
You know, they're just securing the firearm. He starts moving towards them like he's going to go around me. And I shoved him really hard and was like, I let him know, you're not going around me. You're not going near them. They have their back to this guy. I don't know what he's going to do. I don't know if he's going to try to grab the gun, whatever. So I give him a good shove. And as I shove him, he starts to get, you know, he balls up and squares off on me. And I was like, nope, we're done. So I told him, turn around, put your hands behind your back. You're being detained. I'm putting you in handcuffs because I don't trust you. I put him in handcuffs. I'm like, sit down. He won't sit down. So I grab his arm and I just help him to the ground. I didn't slam him. Didn't do. All I did was pull his arm down and was like, you'll sit down or these handcuffs are really going to hurt. I'm just going to pull the handcuffs to the ground and you'll sit down. So he did. They got the gun secured. Basically kind of hung out for a little bit. And then they were like, hey, you can probably take him out of handcuffs now. But after I put him in handcuffs, everyone that was there was like acting really weird.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is after I came back to work.
This was after you had gotten
my psychological
fit for
and
duty
I already had this suspicion that there had been a lot of talk about me because of the way they were
acting weird.
They acted really weird around me.
And they were like, it was almost like it was just
it's like, oh, don't talk to him, he's crazy.
Yeah, like this like gossip.
So I was like,
session every day.
So I'm standing there and like no one was supporting my decision to put this dude in handcuffs. Everybody was like, dude, just take him out of handcuffs. It's not that serious. And I was like, okay, fine. So I took him out of handcuffs and I left. I was like, I'm out of here. Like, if y'all deal with him. 2 officers came to me later and they're like, hey, we just want to talk to you about that. Like, we just don't understand why you did that. And I was like, because he was approaching you. And it was the 2 that were going in the car. They had their back to me. So of course they didn't know what was going on because they didn't even see it. And I was like, because he was trying to approach you too as you were getting in the vehicle. And I told him no. And when I pushed him backwards, he squared off on me. And I was like, nope. You know, this is an officer safety issue. I'm putting you in handcuffs. And they were like, oh, it just seemed like it seemed pretty excessive. And I was like, okay, well, sorry. So to his credit, one of the officers came to me later because what happened was those 2 officers went back to the PD, found another officer and pulled the video and watched it because they were going to go to the lieutenant and report me. I found out later.
Yeah.
To his credit, one of the officers came to me and said, hey, I watched that video and you were right. You were right. You were protecting us. That was an officer safety issue. You did the right thing. And I'm sorry for not giving you the benefit of the doubt. So to his credit, one of the officers did say that. So well done by one person.
Yeah.
So I knew there was already this stigma surrounding me.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, that was just, and I forget where I was going with that story necessarily.
Well, we were just kind of talking, we were talking about how it just, there, you know, when we knew you were done because there was just an obvious
because they were looking for things. And this was, again, once I realized they were going to report me.
Yeah.
To my lieutenant or to whoever in an effort to get rid of me. And I feel like there was a conversation had, and I can't prove this, but I feel like there was a conversation had where they were basically like, hey, you all need to keep an eye on him. And the second he does anything, you tell us.
Yeah.
Because we're going to get rid of him.
Yeah.
And I was, you know, so I was already on edge the entire time I was working anyway. So.
Oh, and you know, we also forgot one detail. When you came back from having to do the psychological fit for duty, when you went to SRT, they told you that you were like,
I was like shadow banned.
You were shadow banned.
I wasn't allowed to go on any call outs.
Yeah.
Until they said that I could. So that I get notified that I'm cleared for full duty.
Mm-hmm. For
That's
full
what
duty.
it said.
But
The chief
yet,
said cleared for full
it
duty.
even said it on the paper, cleared for full duty.
So I
Which,
return to duty and I go to SRT training, and the SRT team leader comes to me and he's like, hey, or I had actually pulled him aside because I wanted to talk to him and be like, hey, I want you to know that I'm fine. And I explained what had happened because I figured he'd probably been lied to just like everybody else.
mm-hmm.
And I was like, the only reason I was off that long is I couldn't find the right doctor who would actually do this for me, because most of the psychiatrists and psychologists, they don't do that kind of fit for duty exam.
Yeah.
And you have to find a specialist, and they're few and far between. There's like 3 for all of North Texas and Oklahoma. So there's like 3 for all of those departments. So, and I was telling him that, he's like, well, technically you weren't even supposed to be here today for training. And I was like, what? Why not? Like, I'm on the team. Like, what are you talking about? He goes, well, the lieutenant, team commander said that you needed to go to him because he was going to inform you that basically you're not allowed to go on any call outs until we deem that you're okay. And I'm like, I got cleared for full duty.
Yeah.
And again, just
what
one more thing.
Action...
What the action? And I was like, they legitimately think that I am just psychotic,
mm-hmm.
and that I'm just, and what they called me during the arbitration, I'm a ticking time bomb.
That's
and it's only going to take
that's literally what they called him.
One thing. And, and I'm going to go off and I'm going to kill somebody, or I'm going to go postal with the PD. I don't know what they thought.
Which is ironic considering, one of the officers who testified against him, it got brought out and he admitted to that he had an incident where he basically went postal on one of the employees at the PD
that was a city employee.
Like a city employee in the finance department.
Yep.
And
cussed him out,
screamed at him, all this stuff. And that got brought out. And
he got a 1-day suspension.
Yeah. 1-day suspension for that.
And I get mad at a civilian
and get fired. Yeah.
So anyway, that got brought out. And so going back to what this was doing to me mentally, my character was in shreds.
Yeah.
As far as at the PD, I had none left. I knew that I couldn't work there anymore. I knew for a fact they were going to fire me. I knew for a fact that even if I was able to appeal it and get my job back, there's no way I was ever going to work there again. The way that it works at this particular department is they gave you, they honored your military time as far as the retirement goes. So they honored my military time, which was almost 11 years, plus 3.5, eventually 4 years at this particular PD. I only had
like
5 years left before I could retire with a pension. Now, it wouldn't have been a huge pension, but it was still residual monthly income, plus all the, whatever benefits that come with that. They took that from me.
Yeah.
Just, like that. It was gone.
Yep.
And until I got my job back, they took my ability to work in law enforcement anywhere because they took my license. And, they...
Well, and took away his ability to even like get hired at any other job, because it was like
they didn't want to hire me.
And he was applying he was applying as much as he could. Outside of like applying at McDonald's.
I didn't apply at McDonald's.
Yeah, he did not apply at McDonald's.
But I applied.
Like he was trying to apply at these jobs that were like legitimate, can actually like give you like a salary to support our family.
I applied to be a landscaper.
Yeah. And he got denied that.
I got denied. And I was like,
yeah,
all I want to do is mow grass and weed whack.
Yeah.
And y'all want to tell me that I'm not able to do that. So it started, and this had already been brewing since May. And it just, the bitterness that was brewing inside me.
Yeah.
And full disclosure, I'm still dealing with that.
Yeah.
Every day.
Mm-hmm.
Because it comes up in my mind multiple times a day where it's like, they took that from me.
Mm-hmm.
Like every time I'm sitting around the house and I'm like starting to get bored, or I'm frustrated, or I see something in the news about an event that happened in that particular city or whatever, or I think about, retirement or whatever.
Yeah.
It just, it's like that wound gets reopened and just, salt gets poured on it. And it happens literally every day.
Mm-hmm. Well,
And it's
it's like, and we talked about it before, he's gone full time doing the social media and everything, but I mean, it nowhere at all remotely pays at all what he was getting paid. And so
yeah,
it's like every time we look at our finances, it's sometimes like a slap in the face,
yeah.
and yes, this was a decision. This was
Like now that I have my job back, I could go
like,
get a job
well, and like
in law enforcement
now that he
or
got his license back,
right.
it's like,
Well, I got my job back and then I resigned.
yeah,
So I got
he
my license
resigned.
back.
Because there was no way he was going to go back and work for that department where they all treated him this way, and he was betrayed,
Mhm.
absolutely betrayed by guys. And the crazy thing is a lot of these guys were veterans, and
The
that
supervisor,
the
the
supervisor
main one in
was
all
a
of this
veteran.
was a Marine of all
Yeah,
things. And yeah,
I'd like to know what kind of a Marine he was. Supposedly was a Marine. And the one who was one of your other bigger betrayers was what, Army? And the snake in the grass, was he Army or was
oh no, he wasn't.
he wasn't military?
No.
Oh, I thought
No,
he
but he was
was.
the mental health
Oh,
officer,
yeah, that's ironic because
which
yeah.
anyway,
Um
he tried to throw that around in the arbitration about how he was a trained mental health officer, and that didn't go very well for him.
no, because then the arbitrator threw it back at him, basically told him, "Well, then you handled this whole
Yeah.
situation
So don't
really
you think maybe
poorly."
you could have handled this a little better? And he's like,
Of like, realized your knowledge, if that's truly what you thought.
yeah, which didn't happen. So
Yeah.
we go through, I get officially fired in November,
Mm-hmm.
appeal it, and then we get our arbitration date set for May.
Yeah.
So that 6
Whole period.
months, no job, no income, and just anger
Yeah.
and bitterness. And I knew that I would have my day in court, but it was 6 months away. And that was really hard to deal with on a daily basis, just waking up and being like, yep, I'm here at home, which isn't a bad thing, but I'm not at work like I should be.
Yeah.
I'm not doing what I'm supposed to be doing because of these people, because of these lies, because of this, witch hunt that they went
Yeah.
on.
Which it really
And
was. Well, and then during this time, um, his attorney told us, like, you need to start putting together, you're going to receive all of the information from the PD that they're going to use for evidence, and then you need to go through it. Well, and then we start combing through it, and we were just finding lie after lie after lie just in their evidence folder. And thankfully, I mean, we had so much. This man documents things, well, and I think that's just from your military training,
yeah,
just learning to keep everything.
but that's why I didn't want to sign the counseling,
Yeah.
because I knew it was going to go in my folder. And they're like, well, and they even said that, like, well, he believed because of his military background that this was going to really negatively affect him. And I'm like, that's because it was,
Because it
genius.
was, and it did, and
And
he
it
was
clearly
right.
did.
It clearly
So
did.
you're right. So I'm sorry that I was right.
Yeah.
And I didn't sign it because I knew that y'all were going to lie and y'all were going to just stuff this in my folder and use it against me later, which you did.
Which, and apparently there is a due process where, like, you can, if there's a counseling that's wrong, you sign it, and then you can do like a rebuttal.
You can appeal it.
You can appeal it. But he was never informed of that process by his supervisor, which is the
He just told me that I had to sign it
job.
because
He just kept
said so.
demanding him to sign it.
Yeah.
Say, well,
He
you have
said
to
so,
sign it.
so I had to sign it because
Yeah.
he said so. I'm like, you pound sand.
And that was a fun nugget that we learned later. And it was like, oh, well, he even said in his testimony, he's like, had I been informed of that, I would have probably followed that
Yeah,
process.
well, because my lieutenant was literally like 2 doors down. I could have walked over there and been like, hey, I signed this counseling only because I have to.
It's wrong.
I'm appealing this. I don't
Yeah.
agree with any of this, which again, that whole process is stupid because if it's not accurate, you don't sign it.
Exactly. I know.
And
I know.
honestly,
That-
even
that's
if he had
wild
told
to
me, even if he had told me that, I probably wouldn't have signed it. I probably would have been like, you know what? Let's go talk to the lieutenant. Like, let's just go. Let's just take this in there with him, and we'll talk. Because that
Yeah.
even if he had told me, well, just sign it and you can appeal it later, I would have been like, I ain't signing that thing.
Yeah.
You can pound sand. I'm not doing it. Like, there's no way.
So there's something interesting. So when we were going through all of the documents that they had sent for their evidence, we received all of the documents from the initial, from the first investigation, internal affairs investigation, and we were reading through the testimonies. We were reading through the testimonies of everybody else who was in that briefing room. We're talking about the briefing incident. We were reading through the testimonies of everybody in the briefing room. And almost every single testimony corroborated what Evan was saying, corroborated your testimony.
Yep.
But he still
But
ended
they
up
were-
being,
yeah.
but they still
They
gave
still-
him the written reprimand.
You know what's the best part of all of the arbitration? Well, there's two. The first one was when the IA investigator, the lieutenant who investigated it, put in his findings that the supervisor used, quote, apparently misleading statements. And my attorney was like, apparently misleading. And he was like, doesn't that sound like lying?
I mean, he
Like,
ran with that.
He just absolutely drove that stake into their heart.
Yes.
And he gave it to the chief too. And like, he even asked the chief, he's like, what do you think apparently misleading means? You know what the chief said? It probably means dishonest or lying. He said that. The chief said that.
Mm-hmm.
The second best part was when my attorney got the chief to admit that there was only 2 events that I had been disciplined for. One was the briefing room, and the counseling was 1 event.
Yeah.
Because I only received one discipline for that whole thing.
Yeah. Because
And
they were all together.
The citizen complaint. So 2 events.
2 events.
He said, if you fired every officer who escalated 2 events, how many officers did you have left? And the chief goes, well, yeah, you're right. And he goes, no. Seriously, how many would you have left?
How many?
And the chief goes, probably none.
And the attorney's like...
The attorney was like, I'm not even going to respond. He's like, okay, thank you. And the arbitrator was like, and does like this whole like nodding, like, really?
Really?
Interesting. And I just sat there because like the whole time I had to maintain like bearing the entire time. I was not.
Oh man, it was taking
and I just
everything
sat there,
in me to not
like,
cheer.
Looking at the chief with this deadpan look on my face, and all I was thinking was, you literally just shot yourself.
Yeah.
In the foot. Like, you basically just blew your own foot off. Thank you. I wanted to just lean over and be like, thank you. You just gave us the biggest piece. And I used that in my testimony. I was like, even the chief said if he fired everybody who escalated 2 incidents, he wouldn't have any officers left. And the arbitrator again was like, yeah, well, yeah, he did. Yeah.
Yeah. When he said that, she just nodded, and, and throughout going through all the documents, it was just wild, because it was like, well, and the other interesting thing that another thing I thought was interesting in the briefing room incident, they did not talk to every single person who was in the briefing room.
No.
They only talked to the people that, and when we talked about it, they only talked to the people that you could tell that they felt would give them the right information. But the funny thing is that their testimony still corroborated what you were saying.
Yeah.
And then throughout all the documents, then we had discovered that the supervisor had changed a memo.
Mm-hmm. He altered a memo
and presented the altered memo as the evidence.
As the original.
And so that just shows you how much shadiness was going on here.
And when he got called out about it, he threw the lieutenant under the bus.
And he said that the lieutenant
He's
told
like,
him
my lieutenant told me to.
Yeah. Told him to change it.
Told me to change it.
Yeah.
And it was
that's a government document.
Okay.
And then one of his witnesses, came and they asked that witness, they said, what is the process if a memo has to be changed? What is the process? Do you change the original memo? And it was funny because he got confused. He's like, why am I being asked this question? Because he was somebody who was a supervisor
At this,
at
the
that
PD.
PD, who he no longer worked there. He had changed because he was going through this.
He was targeted.
He was targeted, and he left
They ran him out of
before.
town.
Yeah, that he left before they could fire him. This other guy, and because he knew where it was going, he was going through the same thing. He knew what was happening,
Yep.
and so he left. And but they asked him. Evan's attorney asked him. He said, "What is the process? Do you just change the memo?"
It's funny because he goes, "Would you just change it?" And he goes, "What?
What?
And he's like, "Would you
confused.
just change it?" He goes, "What do you mean change it? Like you can't change
You
it.
can't change a memo.
Like it's already been." He was so confused, and he goes, "If you were told to make changes to this memo, how would you do it?" He goes, "An amendment. I would make an amendment document and file it with the original as a change, but like on a separate document." He goes, "Oh, so you wouldn't just change the document?" And the guy goes, "No. Like, why would I ever?" He was so confused because he was like, "Why would I ever do that?"
Yeah.
And the attorney was like, "Well, no reason."
Yeah.
And just kind of looked at the arbitrator like, "No reason." Like looks over at the chief like, "I mean, apparently your officers do, but
And which was great, and it was awesome that he was so like confused and like bewildered by that question, because it just proved the point that legally you can't do that.
Well, and he should have known better. He did know.
Exactly.
He did know.
He did know.
And he lied.
Knew better.
I mean,
And
he lied.
but it was another instance of lying.
Mhm.
And thankfully, once again, we were able to prove that wasn't the original memo because we had the original.
Yeah, because I had the original.
We had the original. But it was so funny. Like, what was so funny to me was seeing their folder of evidence, which was like literally not even an inch high. And we had this folder of evidence, and I'm not kidding. Probably 4 inches?
It's about
4 or 5 inches?
it was a solid, about that thick.
Yeah. And our evidence was just went to point out all of the lies and inaccuracies, inconsistencies, all the original documents, all of that. But by this point, by the time it got to the arbitration, I mean, we were both emotionally, mentally, spiritually exhausted. I mean,
so the arbitration gave us a reason to continue.
Yes.
Gave us something to focus on.
Yeah.
The arbitration ended.
It was like a joint,
So it was a team effort where we were able to work together towards
for
a
a
common
purpose.
goal.
Common goal.
We had a mission.
Yes.
We got the arbitration done. We hadn't been told if we won or lost. And it was like getting out of the military all over again, because our mission, our purpose was just gone.
Yeah. It was
like
done.
I woke up and I was like I woke up the next day, and I know we had talked about it. It was just like, now what?
Yeah.
And it was like this weight was lifted, but it left like a void.
Yeah.
And it was like, well, now what? And then that's kind of when, we had to decide, like, well, was I just going to continue doing, the Veritable Veteran full time, or was I going to try and get a job? And it was like, we had already said that I wanted to keep doing it full time. And it was like, yeah, well, I'm going to continue doing that. But it was just like such a hole.
Yeah.
And that's really when I started struggling mentally again. And
again, it was like we said before, it was like they had gaslit you so hard to the point that when we finally when all of that was lifted and you won, we found out you won, and it was just like that was lifted. But by this point, it was like you had been gaslit and called a ticking time bomb. This guy's going to explode. He's going to go crazy. It was like almost all those accusations almost made you crazy. Not made you crazy, but it was driving.
Well, I started to, at some points, I was questioning if they were right.
Yeah.
And I was literally like, maybe they're right. Like, maybe I am. Like, because I had so many people saying, yeah, he's crazy. He's he's going to do something off the wall. He's going to hurt somebody, you know, and all this other stuff. And I'm like, maybe I am like unhinged and unstable.
And that's the thing,
And
as his spouse, I can't tell you the number of times that I just cried and I was just in anguish because I'm like, they are destroying his character. Like I
like, even in
was
my own eyes,
so
like even to myself,
yeah.
I was so just, again, the best way of putting it is I was just so gaslit into
Yeah.
believing that I was legitimately unhinged. And when the arbitration ended, and even, I guess it may have been before we found out we won, or maybe after. It's like when you have an injury, but you're like, when you're in the military and you're in the middle of a mission and you get injured and you're like, I'll deal with that later. And you're like, that hurts, but I'm going to deal with it later. When everything stops, the adrenaline stops, the endorphins stop flowing,
Mhm.
the mission's over, and you sit down, and all of a sudden, all that pain
Yep.
comes rushing in. That's the best way I can think of to describe it, is I had that injury and I was just pushing through it because of the arbitration and
Yeah.
because of all this. And when that ended, it hit me like a truck. And I was like, I don't know what to do. Like, I don't know how to handle this. And like, it was so much. And I'm still dealing with it,
Yeah.
just trying to figure out,
Well, it
you
was
know,
like, it was like freedom from the aspect of like we won, you were free from you no longer had this just like dread of am I ever going to have to go back? Am I ever going to, it was like no, I don't have to go back there anymore. It was like freedom from that department, but the thing is it it doesn't ultimately feel like freedom because that city has a lot of the stores that we shop at, and it's like every time we drive there, it's like a punch in the gut. Every time we see one of those police cars, it's just a constant reminder of what was stolen from you, what was stolen from us.
and I was thinking about this today actually, and I can't believe that it hadn't occurred to me sooner, was how much this can be related to by guys that were in the military and got out, and under circumstances that may have been less than friendly.
Yeah.
And they see a military vehicle, or they see their friends in the military, or they see the military on the news, they see whatever. And it's like they have this bitterness,
Yeah.
in their hearts and in their minds. And even just getting out, let's say you got out just because you were tired of the military, and you just, like me, I just got out at 10 and a half years because it wasn't conducive to the life we wanted anymore.
Yeah.
I still had some bitterness because it was like I got tossed out like an old shoe. I
Yeah.
mean, it was like, yeah, I'm done with you. And they just,
And you felt ill prepared
yeah. And,
for
and I got one gift while I was in the Marine Corps. My last unit, my lieutenant bought me, it was a decanter and some rocks glasses, engraved, really nice.
yes.
Um, Super appreciative. I love that. I don't even drink anymore, and I still have it. It sits on my shelf in my office. It's one of my most prized possessions because it was the only gift I ever got in the military for leaving a unit. And I was like, man, people get gifts all the time for leaving units, and I never got anything. When I got out, I never had a going away party.
Yeah.
I mean, I kind of did, but
I mean, and I I guess I could have organized one, but we were just trying to figure out the move
and
and
that's
all of
what
that. And
I think a lot of people, they think when you go to get out, there's like this fanfare.
yeah,
There's not,
there's not.
unless you make it,
Yeah.
or
It's
unless
like
you're
you
having
have to organize it
yeah,
yourself.
like I have to organize my own party. Like,
Yeah.
whatever. It's, if you want one, I mean, do it. I
Yeah.
would. I mean, knowing what I know now, like I would have. But I think that's one of the things that triggered that negative response in me, was just, it was a reminder of that similar um instance when I got
Yeah.
out of the military. It was very similar. And
It's
it
almost like you went back to
Yes.
It was like repeat.
Yeah.
Here we
It
go
was just
again.
deja vu all over.
Deja vu.
I mean, completely 100% going through it all again. And
It literally, like, and I remember telling you, I feel like you've gone back there, like, you've gone back to that place of where you were when you got out of the military,
yeah,
and,
just feeling lost
yeah,
and confused and frustrated.
and this time it was robbed from you,
Yeah,
and 'cause
at
and it's
least the
like,
first time it was my choice.
yeah.
Like, at least I had that in my mind, like, well, this is what you wanted. So, I mean, we should probably make it work. This time it's like, I didn't want this.
Well, and it put, like, a bad taste in your mouth towards law enforcement, period. It's like it just it tainted everything. And honestly, like, it even tainted our own children's, like, perspective, because we tried to shield them from this as much as we could, but obviously you can't shield them from everything. And, like, our kids, we did great the first couple months,
Yeah.
in all of it. Like, honestly, our kids didn't even know he had been fired for the first, like, 2 or 3 months. Um, and they just thought that daddy was just home a lot, for some reason he just, like, he was just home. And, but then our oldest ones started, like, they I think our oldest overheard us having a conversation, and he
Actually,
was
it was Joshua.
oh, so it was
We
our
said something
3rd,
about being fired, and
and he was like, "Wait, you were
you were
fired?"
fired? And I was like, oh, snap.
Yeah, and so, we delicately tried to, and we told him, we said, "Yes, some people at that daddy works with, were lying about him, and they got him fired." And, and ironically, one of our kids, it was either Joshua or either he was 10 at the time, uh, 10 or 11-year-old said, "Wait, like, they're police officers, aren't they supposed to tell the truth?" And we're like, "Yep, they should." And honestly, that just and we still tell them, we say,
Not
that
everyone's like that,
not everyone's like that,
you know.
and we tell them, Not everybody's like that, but unfortunately, you're gonna face this no matter where you work.
Yeah.
No matter where you work, you're gonna have people who are gonna lie about you, and people who are going to treat you poorly." Um,
They only care about themselves,
yeah,
and they will run you over and then back up and run you over again
and
just to
and
get ahead.
even the ones who know the truth
Mhm.
and know that lies are being said, they're not willing to stand up
Yep.
for in support of you for fear of losing their own job. Because honestly, there were enough people. Well, and what's crazy, okay, and this just blows my mind too. When people at the PD found out that he won the arbitration and that he was getting his job back, he had multiple people text him and say, "I was rooting for you. I'm so glad that you won." And it was like, "Where were you?
Yeah, for the last
For the
year,
last
like,
year, where
you
were
know,
you?" Not once did any of those people reach out and
no,
say,
there was, like, 2
yeah.
that
No,
did.
the one, it was
Mhm.
the one who still stays in contact with
Yep.
you.
There's a
Like,
couple. There was about 2, and
he
there's 2.
regularly reached out, but, a lot of these people who are like, "We're so glad, we were rooting for you." And it's like, "Oh, really? We had no idea. We had no idea because you didn't say anything." And
And if I had lost, they wouldn't have said a
they
word.
wouldn't have said a word. They would not have said a word if he had lost.
Yeah.
And it's like, so if you were rooting for him, why didn't you speak up? Why didn't you say something like, "Hey, I feel like this is unjust. Like, I feel like he's..." Why did none of these people come and speak up
Mhm.
in favor of your character and speak up for you? And it's like, they were happy you won, and congratulating you on winning and saying, "I was rooting for you," but it's like, but you didn't, but you weren't.
So, I think, again, one of the things that just kinda came to mind today was looking at, from a military perspective. people that have been medically separated or medically retired because they got injured or they had, that they were paratroopers and they broke their back or they broke their ankles 15 times from jumps, and they had to get out, or, their back was crushed from hiking, or they got run over by a tank, or, that it's, it happens. Training happens and you get hurt and you can't do it anymore. So you got to get out. Or people that had mental health injuries and they had to get out because of that, or whatever it was. I know how you feel.
Mhm.
Not exactly the same, but when when you have something taken from you that you really wanted and you intended to stay quite a bit longer, and it's just taken away from you without any input from you, that's really hard.
Yeah.
And in my case, unjustified,
Mhm.
and even proven in arbitration that it was unjustified. Here's the biggest problem that we deal with, though, is even though it's unjustified, even though we know we were right and we should have been able to stay, or it was just unfair and life should have given us a better shake, how long are we just going to sit there and dwell on it and wallow in it and think it's not fair? I should have been able to do this or that, or it was unjust. And I'm the absolute worst because if things aren't fair, it makes me mad.
Yeah.
It just makes me mad. If it's not fair or just, I'm upset about it.
He's definitely a justice warrior.
So, so this obviously made me mad.
Yeah.
And I'm still dealing with the bitterness of being betrayed by certain people that I thought I could trust, and an institution that I thought I could trust, that I worked really hard for. And they, you know, threw me out so fast that it's still making my head spin. But I have to be able to move on. And ultimately, I have to be able to forgive. And that can be forgiving a person. For me, it's forgiving multiple people. It's
Yeah.
also forgiving an institution. And also forgiving myself for certain things, because had I not lost my cool that day, would I still have my job? Probably not, but I don't know that.
Well, they were
They were looking,
they
but
were looking and they were
could I
always
have done
prudent.
better that day? Yeah. Um, could I have done better in general? Yeah. Maybe made myself less of a target. I could have, but I have a way of rubbing people the wrong way.
Oh, sorry. I don't mean to interrupt your really serious thought there and stuff. But something else to note is we almost wouldn't even have been able to make this episode to even talk about any of this stuff. Um, because
Yeah.
in the final agreement, you know, when he left the PD, there was a signing of an agreement because our attorney fought for more beyond just his back pay. Like, fought for, almost like a emotional damage severance
Settlement, sort
settlement,
of.
fought for, like, a settlement.
It sounds big and important, but it was not that
There
big.
was not much of a settlement. It was
Anyway,
anyway, um,
in the settlement, in
in
the
the
agreement,
settlement agreement, they almost silenced him.
they put a non-disparagement clause in there, which I don't intend to disparage them. I'm simply telling the truth.
Yeah,
And I can show you the documents to back it up.
yeah,
Um, the issue was in that document, they basically said that I wasn't allowed to talk about it.
yeah.
And I told my attorney, I was like, I'm not signing that.
I'm not signing it.
Like, if that's in there, I won't sign it.
Yeah.
We were able to get that taken out.
They also put in there that they took away his ability to be able to complain,
To file a
to
complaint
file a complaint,
from
file a
anybody.
formal complaint against anyone or the
So any of the
department.
people that lied, and it was shown that they lied, any of the people that altered documents, any of the people that, you know, abused their discretion,
Mhm.
anything, um, wasn't allowed to file any complaints
Yeah.
just because they They wanted to put that, they wanted to protect themselves from anything else.
So
But
that also tells you the character of the department, the fact that they wanted, in the final agreement, they wanted him to be stripped of his ability to file any kind of formal complaint, and they wanted to basically put a gag order on him. And he said, what we initially said, both of those need to be out. Both of those need to be out. And they said, fine, we'll take off the gag order, but he still can't file a complaint. As if the complaint would have gone anywhere anyway.
throwing a water balloon into a pool, it's not going to do
Yeah.
anything.
And so that's the only reason we're even able to talk about it now, because the gag order got removed from the agreement. Um, so anyway, I just thought about that when you were talking. I was like, oh, that's another important piece of information that just goes to show you the character of this department, and and the efforts to cover it up, the efforts to try to make it as if it never happened and make it all go away. Um, but anyway, back to forgiveness and just learning learning to forgive. I like for me, I struggle with my forgiveness struggle is the damage that all of this caused. It's like they came through, they ripped through our family with this incident, like with all of this, like a tornado, and then just went on their merry way.
Hmm.
Didn't
Moved on
send
with their
FEMA, not that
lives.
FEMA
Like,
would have done anything,
oh yeah.
but, didn't send didn't send FEMA, to give us any aid or any help, nothing, just
It's like they cause it, and
they
then
cause it. Yeah,
there's zero repercussion,
like,
and that's one.
no apologies,
Yeah.
nothing. No, and it's like, "Oh, yeah, we were proven wrong, but we're not gonna say we're sorry." In fact, we want you to not be able to talk about it. And it's like, no, that's not going to happen. And it's like, you're not going to be allowed to tell us that we can't talk about what you did. And, and it's just like, I struggle with, it's like, it made me so mad to watch them rip you apart, especially after, it's like you worked so hard to, like, get your alcoholism under control and all of that, and it was like you worked so hard to become, and it's like when you joined this department, that was like one of the reasons that helped you in your alcoholism journey, was being a police officer, because you knew
Mm-hmm.
you couldn't drink alcohol and be a good police officer, and and it was like this man, and they knew what, I mean, a lot of them knew what he was doing on social media. Like, they saw the people he was helping and everything, and it was like, here I am on this end. I'm seeing this man who is, like, getting better and better and better, and then yet they are just ripping him to shreds, and there was nothing I could do about it. There was nothing I could do about it, and I was like, and it was so painful, because it's like, I could just write a public Facebook post and just be like, "Leave my husband alone." But it's not my style. Now there have been times that, like, I wrote posts just asking for prayer and all of that stuff, but, um, it was just so hard to watch you walk through that, and to be on the other side of truth, to be on the side where the truth was. And it was like, I wanted to be able to walk into that department and be like, you are lying about like, I wanted to be like, you have no idea who this man is. You are lying about my husband, and I'm sick of it. I mean, I am telling you, there are times that I just wanted to drive over there and give them a piece of my mind. Then they would have had a legit psycho on their hands. No, I would have been very professional. But, and, and so that broke my heart, and then it was just, then the more you struggled and the more just then it was like the more issues that started happening, then we started struggling in our marriage. Um, we were struggling in parenting. Our kids were suffering. Our kids were struggling. Um, and it was just and it made me so mad. I can't tell you the number of times that I cried because I was just like, like I said, they came through like a tornado and just ripped everything to shreds. And then we're over here like trying to salvage what we can of this situation and trying to make something good of it. And I kept quoting scripture to myself. I'm like, what's the scripture about the Lord will make evil good or turn or what men meant for evil, God will
Mm-hmm.
make good. And, I kept quoting scripture to myself constantly. And I mean, and there were times that I would yell at God and I'd just be like, why? Like, why are you letting this happen? Like, I was like telling God, you say in your word, I will fight for you. You need only to be still. And I'm like, okay, God, we're waiting for you to fight for us because right now they're winning. Now, granted, God did. He showed out on that arbitration day. He showed out like majorly, but still, it still sometimes feels like we're picking up the pieces.
Yeah.
And maybe it sounds cliche to say this, but like trauma, like that whole thing was trauma,
Mm-hmm.
like created a whole situation of trauma for us. And so it's like, how do we move forward? And I know that we've been working towards that, but like I said, it almost feels like we've gone back to the way it was. Now, granted, I feel like we've entered this new season of repeat with a whole lot more tools under our belt and more hope of and just knowledge of knowing it gets better and it's going to be okay. Um, it just really sucks. It's just and it's like trying to heal that hurt and trying to learn how to forgive and heal all the hurt. And I don't know. I guess we're just in it. It's an interesting season right now.
Yep.
I mean, I feel like we're a lot I feel like we're getting through this a whole lot faster than we did in the transition from the military.
Yeah.
I mean, walking through that healing journey a little bit faster. Um, but we still have more, and I know I personally have more to go in that healing journey. I feel like I may be a little farther ahead than you, but that's because I wasn't the one who was attacked, you know? Like, I'm not the one who came under attack, but I know I've told you this before, but I'm sorry that happened to you.
I'm sorry it happened to us. Just not fair.
Yeah.
But
But like we always tell our kids, life isn't fair. Honestly, this has been a big life lesson just for our children. Just life is going to throw you some really crappy stuff, things that are unjust, things that are not fair. And you're going to sometimes find yourself in situations where all you can do is just get up and try to just go another day. And the best thing you can do is get up and move forward. And that was like one thing in all of this. I remember I just kept encouraging you. I was like, your kids are watching. Your kids are like our kids. Well, and that was one of the reasons I gave you to not give up because I was like, our kids are watching how you're going to handle this. And if you give up and you just give in, they'll see that.
mhm.
And And I think one of the most beautiful and fun things was when you won the arbitration. You won the arbitration, and we told our kids, and because they were praying for justice. I mean, we all were. And we were all praying that he would win. And our daughter, who was 5 at the time, or was she 6 by this point?
6.
She was 6. Um, our 6-year-old daughter, um, when we told them, I mean, they literally cheered. They were, like, jumping up and down, and they were cheering. They were so excited, and our 6-year-old came to us, and she said, "I had been praying. I was praying that the truth would win, and that daddy, that daddy would win." And it was just like a boost for her faith, because she was like, this thing that I prayed for
Mhm.
came true, and it happened. And I know that not everybody gets vindicated. Not everybody gets that opportunity. And I know that even is a big thing. The fact that you were vindicated. It goes to show that ultimately, at some point, whether on earth or later, like whether here, presently, or later, truth will win. Um and you have to just hold on to that, sometimes. And that was something that just kind of kept us going, was knowing that whether here on earth or in heaven, truth was going to win, and um we just had the blessing of being able to see that. But teaching our children how to handle situations like this. I mean, they got to see it firsthand, and that how just life just is not fair.
Yeah.
and
Yep.
and that it's okay to fight. And that's the
Mhm.
other thing. It's okay to stand up for yourself. Like, it's okay to fight when uh, I mean, and do it appropriately,
Yeah.
you know? Um, it's okay to stand up for yourself and stand up for truth.
Yeah. You don't have to just take it and, you know, give up.
Yeah.
Just because it's easy doesn't mean it's the right thing to do. Sometimes the right thing to do is the hard thing, but it can make a big difference.
Yeah, for sure. I think we have kind of come to the end.
Yeah. I'm getting tired
I am too. I can feel myself fading, even though I've been drinking an energy drink, and I'm I'm fading.
but
Uh
yeah, we wanted to kind of give you guys just that extended story and just kind of an update on how it's been affecting us and our family. Just
where we're
put
at.
some
Yeah.
context to it and kind of
Yeah.
explain where we're at. So there's a lot to it. That's still not really, that's not everything. It's a lot of it.
Yeah.
Um, but I wanted you guys to know kind of what we're going through. And if you're going through something similar, you're not alone.
Yeah.
Um, no one is. That's kind of the whole premise behind this social media community that we've, started building, and just letting everybody know you're not alone. And if you're experiencing it, someone else somewhere has.
Yeah.
And there's the opportunity for community to be had in that, in the struggles that we have, because it's not unique to us. Our each person's struggles are unique to them, but they're not completely unique in the way that nobody else has experienced anything like it.
Yeah.
And there's the opportunity for community to be had there. So you're not alone. And if you feel like you are, you just need to keep looking, because if you keep looking long enough, you're going to find several people that have been through something very, very similar to what you've gone through. So, but with that being said, if you guys, any of you want to be on the show, if you have a couple, if there's a couple, husband and wife, boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever, that have been through um, something together regarding their military experience, Whether it's your time in the military or transitioning out, whatever it is, we'd love to have more couples on the show. Also, if you're just an individual that would like to be on the show, would love to have you on as well, just to tell your story, because telling your story is empowering not only to you but also to the people listening, because someone somewhere is going to be able to relate to it and realize, yeah, I went through that. I understand that, and I know how that feels. So the more stories that get told, the more that community is built, and the more people can feel supported and understand that they're not alone. So if you want to be on the show, go to theveritableveteran.com, fill out the podcast guest form. That will come directly to me, and I'll be in touch with you, and we'll get you scheduled. But other than that, I think it's time that we go to bed.
Yeah.
And
one quick thing, if you want to know how to support him, just support the mission of, what he does, and sharing, through the podcast. And because again, like, all of this is out of pocket, and support his ability to be able to go to speaking engagements, because there are oftentimes he's invited to engagements where they can't afford to pay his way to come to them. But he still gets invited, and so, like, we often pay out of pocket for those events. And so if you want to be able to support his mission, support what he does, um go to theveриtableveteran.com, click on support. If you are, wanting to see about sponsoring the podcast, there's options there too. Just sponsor the podcast, various ways. Please do.
I guess we'll see you guys next week. This may end up being a 2-part episode, so this may be the end of part 2.
I don't know. I don't know if there's like a good middle point.
Yeah, we'll see.
Maybe it's just a long episode. I guess you'll know what we decide when it gets when it comes up.
So, but I hope you guys glean something from this. But yeah, don't be afraid to reach out if you need help. Reach out to somebody. You can always message us and message me. But regardless, we'll see you guys next week. Love you guys.
Bye. Yes.
Hey guys, quick reminder, if you enjoyed the episode today, don't forget to like and subscribe. Also, go to whatever platform you listen to these podcasts on and leave a review. That's the best way to help us out. It gets a lot more traffic to us. So again, if you liked it, like, subscribe, and leave a review. All right, love you guys.